My name is Kent Zbornak, and I was co-executive producer on The Office for seasons 1 through 4. My responsibilities were to the studios. Greg Daniels, who was the showrunner of The Office, would present a script to me, and I would make sure that it was produced. In other words, I took care of everything. We were blessed that we got Allison Jones as our casting director. Allison Jones is, in my opinion, one of the best casting directors in town. She'll go to the Groundlings and watch an improv group and see people with huge potential. So she'll bring people in that have never been in front of camera before. And so she was instrumental in just bringing a huge group of talent to us. The system at that time was only people would come into audition one at a time. We would never pair anybody up. We wouldn't pair up a Pam or Jim. We wouldn't pair up a Dwight and Michael. We would just bring them in one at a time. That's how they normally did it. And so Ken Kwapis, the director, and I started talking about it. And I said, you know what we should do? We should really videotape these guys. And let's bring in actors, and if we find people we like, let's start bringing them in. Let's bring them in 3 or 4 at a time and have them work with each other and see what it was like. Ken Kwapis would sit next to a camera. I was behind the camera with a guy that I hired, a friend of mine who was the director of photography. It was fantastic. So he would operate the camera, and I sat behind him, and Ken Kwapis would sit next to the camera, and he would basically treat it like a talking head audition. And, like ask Jim, well, what is it that you do for Dunder Mifflin? And then, the actor would go on and say that. So we did this, and then we would start calling in actors that were our favorites, and we had a bunch. The only one individual that really came in to read that was Rainn Wilson. We knew immediately he was going to be Dwight. There's no other person that just was like him. I mean, Bob Odenkirk came in and he auditioned for Dwight. He also auditioned for Michael, and he did an okay job. But when Rainn Wilson came in, that was his character. He was great.
Urine is sterile. Okay? That's a fact. Did you know that? When you are in the field, you can clean a wound by whizzing on it.
But then we would start bringing in people. We would bring in our top 3 choices of Pams, our top 3 choices of Jims, and we would play them together, put them, pair them up, and then we would have Jim with 3 different Pams playing a particular scene, and then we'd do the same sort of thing where we'd actually set them up for improv because we knew it was going to be highly improv. So we set them up with improv situations. We actually convinced the head of the network that we said, we basically want to show you the videotape of these actors that we put on tape. Instead of doing the normal dog and pony show where we bring these actors in live and they perform in front of you, we want to show you what we did. We basically present this to them and said, here's our top choices. And then we got into a position where we hired BJ Novak, and we knew immediately he was going to be a writer. We also said he's got to be our new guy. He's got to be the temp. He kind of ended up being Ryan without really auditioning for the role because we hired him as a writer first.
God, I cannot wait to get pregnant and have babies.
Kelly and I both agreed that we would just have fun, and I'm learning that fun for Kelly is getting married and having babies immediately.
Steve Carell was a unique thing. We hadn't found our Michael, and Steve Carell was an ensemble member of a show that was already on air. David Kissinger suggested that we bring him in, and we all said, well, we can't because he's in first position, he's doing this other show. And David Kissinger said, don't worry, that show's not going to get picked up. So we brought him in his first, he was very nervous in his first readings. He didn't want to watch anything that Ricky Gervais did, and he never did. He always wanted to do something his own way. So he just read the material, and he came in, and we put him on camera, and he left, and we all looked at each other, and he said, that's our Michael Scott.
Come on, Michael, you're interrupting.
You're kidding me! God! You say radon is silent but deadly, and then you expect me not to make farting noises with my mouth? What is this?
At that time in the first season, all those ancillary characters, other than the 5 already mentioned, the Michael and Dwight and Jim and Pam and Ryan, everybody else was considered just a guest cast. We didn't hire them for an entire season. We just hired them week to week. But we did the same sort of thing. We brought the actors in to play those ancillary roles, and we videotaped them. Allison Jones, our casting director, would also videotape them first. We did, and she would basically weed people out and only present us with her top choices. Phyllis Smith was her assistant, and Phyllis would read with everybody. And Greg Daniels really liked the way she read and said, I think we should bring her in for the character of Phyllis, have Phyllis play Phyllis. And the unique one, of course, was Creed. Ken Kwapis had known Creed. He came to my office and said, there's a guy that I want to use as a stand-in. His name is Creed. He's an older guy, but he's a friend of mine. I'd like to use him as a stand-in on the show. He was constantly filming himself doing a talking head, and he would always come to my office and give me a DVD of him doing a talking head. He said, here's a talking head I did. I want you to watch it. And he did the most vile, nasty, horribly politically incorrect, wrong, talking head scenes of himself, and just vile and vulgar and nasty and all this. It was exceptionally well received because it was just so just vulgar. It was X-rated material that he was doing. So that episode 2 of the Halloween episode came up, and Greg called me and he said, what do you think about putting Creed in for this one role where, he's fighting with Michael Scott about getting fired because Michael was going to fire. And I said, let's give him a shot at it.
Forget it. Where's Creed? Creed?
Here.
Quality assurance. Your job. I really think you screwed the pooch on this one, Creed. Because of you, the entire company is in jeopardy.
The only difference between me and a homeless man is this job. I will do whatever it takes to survive, like I did when I was a homeless man.
He's starting to get his own little fan club in the office because he's such a unique character. We'd throw him 1 or 2 lines an episode. I said, we're going to lose him too because someone's going to find him, so we should hire him as a series regular, and everybody agreed. So I called NBC and said, we got to make him a series regular, and they did. So, we had 16 series regulars on that show, which was a huge ensemble cast.